Okay, here we go, on board, right? Thank you everybody for coming, taking the time out of your busy home life. I know that life is very different right now. And I would actually like us to start just by a moment of silence for our children. And I'm just going to ask us to let the rest of the day go, whatever's going on around you in this moment. Put your fork down for just a second and to just close your eyes for just a minute and trust me on this if you would, okay? Drop your shoulders down if you can. Don't look at the screen, tempting as it is. Couple deep breaths. And I'd love to have you bring up an image of your children. It can be an old photograph, it can be how you saw them this morning, but just bring their faces into our Zoom if you can, and into your presence. And we're just going to speak to them right now and just acknowledge how incredibly hard and challenging this time is for them. And that we see them and that we love them and we are here for them. And to know that as their parents, we're doing the best we can. And there are going to be better times.
Sad.
Okay, open your eyes. Yeah, so this evening, a couple things before we get started. I imagine that you have questions, and I'm envisioning doing some presenting around developmental stuff because I think it's important for you to have a little bit of an idea of what they're about right now if they weren't in a pandemic right now, and dealing with social and political unrest, revolution, whatever that's happening in the world, climate, all of that. Developmentally, what they look like. So I'll be talking a little bit about that tonight because I want to try to help you see and give them permission to just be who they are in their becoming, and to see if we can peel some of that away a little bit. The world that is away into seeing what this little being is trying to become, or these beings are trying to become. But I also really want to be sure we have time for questions because I know that time together is precious, and I want to be as attentive to trying to get your questions answered as possible, but I want to give you a little bit of a foundational base to start with. So I know Nina has said that we can pop questions in the chat. So as things start to gel in what I'm saying and a question comes up for you, I would encourage you to do that so that we have a nice collection of them towards that portion of our evening together. And it's possible I won't get to all of them. And if that's the truth, then I'm also going to pop into the chat my email address because I'd like to have you have your questions answered as best as I can. I also was alerted to the fact that there are some concerns around anxiety and depression in youth, in specifically the middle school, which is what we're talking about tonight. And I am going to address that a little bit tonight, but I also think it would be good for you to know that the school is in conversation. Nina and I have been talking a little bit about this around the possibility of actually bringing someone in who specializes in this. I think it would really be valuable to have someone who has the background, the knowledge, the understanding around depression and anxiety in youth to be able to address it. So I will be touching upon it a little bit tonight, but I just want you to know that we are aware of it, and that that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to hold our children tonight, because I feel like they need that additional holding. So before I get started, I just want to say I'm working with youth like in Ashland, in the Rogue Valley, in Oregon, on the West Coast, in the United States, and a little bit internationally right now. And I want you to know that the kids that I see, that I'm working with, that are at the Siskiyou School, I'm not just making this up, are, okay, are really well held. I know it doesn't feel that way, and I wasn't expecting this, but there are so many kids struggling right now. Hours and hours, 9 hours on Zoom a day. Parents aren't home. They don't have food in the refrigerator. There are some really difficult situations right now, and when your kids come to me, when I see them, whenever I see them, when I hear you talk about them, I'm not discounting the fact that they're struggling right now, but this is the most held group of kids that I see on a regular basis. And it has to do with the adults that are holding them. Yes, it has to do with the fact that they're socializing, but it has to do with you parents who are sacrificing so much to take care of your kids. It shows. I want you to know they're not showing it necessarily to you, but it's showing, and there's evidence of joy I actually see, which is just really amazing. And the administration of the school, all they have done to keep these kids together is huge. So I just really, really want to acknowledge what it is that I'm seeing and how beautiful it is that even in this most awful time that we're having, your children are really being held. So, whee, a little sip of water on that one, okay? So I'm going to be talking about youth today, and youth as young as 4 can have a sense of their gender identity, and which is someone's general understanding of their identity. And some youth do not identify with the sex that they were assigned at birth, the classification based on their genitals. And I just want to say today, in my speaking, in my use of boys and girls potentially in development, if I'm not using youth, that I mean most boys and most girls, but not necessarily all. All of our youth need to be seen in their development. We're focusing tonight specifically on ages 11 to 14. And this is a time where I like to use the word becoming. I'm going to borrow it from Michelle Obama here big time, because that's what I see happening for youth during this time. Their job is to become. And I'm going to talk a little bit about more of their job here in just a minute. Prior to this, they were developing awareness. They were developing just how to get their feet on the ground, what it feels like to fall out of a tree, what the distance is to the ground. But now it's more about what's going on. How are they in the world? How are they with themselves?
Sarah, do you want chocolate or vanilla?
I want chocolate.
I want chocolate too. I'm not muted.
All right, that was good. So this is a big time of dichotomy. The becoming process is really this. There's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. So it's a period of shedding and growing, all happening at the same time. Of reaching out and retracting, of emotional highs and emotional lows, bold confidence and irrational insecurity, reliability and irresponsibility, attraction and repulsion, sometimes displayed within seconds of each other, and all very dramatic, and this is normal. So their struggle is, am I a child? No, I'm not. Am I an adolescent? No, I'm not. Am I me? No, I'm not. Well, I don't know who I am, so who am I? So this is the becoming. This is the gesture of the becoming youth. The dichotomy, everything is a dichotomy. Gray falls away. Gray is gone for such a period of time. Their brain can't see gray. They only see bright. So black and white. And they go back and forth from that very quickly. And they don't understand why they can't be together at the same time. And as parents, we're constantly bringing, here's the gray, here's the gray, here's the middle ground, here's possibility, here's empathy, here's thinking about other people. Black and white. That's what they see. They are wired for this. So what does that look like? It looks like, I want you. No, wait, no, I don't. No, I don't. Will you hold me? Don't touch me. Oh no, I got this. I got it. You don't have to. Wait, what? No, I don't. I think I need some help. I'm hungry. Wait. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I heard you. What did you say? Stop telling me what to do. I got it. I forgot my soccer stuff. Can you bring it to me? I love you. I hate you. The dichotomy of an adolescent. So if you can imagine what it's like being inside that brain, they talk to me about what this is like. It's a little crazy making. And so it's a fascinating time. It's a very confusing time. It's a very dramatic time. Some kids, when they're going through this, they just blah it all out into the world. And other kids, they just gather themselves in and they just go, no, I don't want anybody to see this, until they can't hold it anymore. And then blah, it comes out. Still the dichotomy, even if they try to hold it. Even those who are just wild with it try to pull themselves in. It still comes out. Teen thunder, that wild teen thunder that they have. So what is their job? Their job developmentally is to bridge from childhood to adulthood, and that's called adolescence. So right now they're bridging from childhood to adolescence. So that's 1 minute I want to curl up and be your baby, and the next minute I want to be driving a car. That is the perfect definition of this time of life that is in its extreme during the middle school years. They're seeking autonomy 1 minute, and the next minute they're wondering where their socks are. But they are seeking autonomy, doesn't mean that they're capable of any of this. Their other job is to find and tend to their tribe. This is a very important piece to them in middle school. Actually, the decibels in parents' voices drop in terms of the audible being able to hear, and the peer audibility goes up. They're much more easy to able to hear their peers speak than they are to hear their parents speak. They seek the feel-good dopamine dumps. They're wired for this. They're following impulse and risk. They see the world from only their perspective. And the purpose of this is so they can understand what that perspective is. They emote unannounced and erratically. And they believe that they are invincible and that they are always right. Again, they are wired for this. These are survival mechanisms that are innate in them, that are coming alive during this time of becoming. When youth speak to me about what this experience is like, it's sometimes difficult for them to put words to it, but when they do speak to it, one of the things that they feel strongly about is that they're the only one that's experiencing it. They're the only ones. It's just me. I'm the only one who feels this way. Nobody else can understand what's going on. Even if I talk to my parents or I talk to my friends, nobody gets it. Nobody gets it. And part of that verbiage is, I don't get it. So sometimes the things that they're saying about other people and other things is reflecting back onto what their experience is, which is, what's going on? This is a big time of privacy where they want to spend time alone. They want to try and figure out who they are without people watching, without parents knowing. They want to try things on. They're curious, they're excited, and they're scared. They're curious, and they want familiarity. Again, that dichotomy of becoming. So parenting this experience, do I need to say, is extremely challenging at times. Now, some kids are very extreme in what it is that they're doing and they're becoming, and others are just a little tiny ripple. And sometimes there's that extreme that shows and then it backs way back up again. Just kind of moves in and out like that. And parenting that can be equally crazy making. So what is the parent's job during this time, great time of becoming? Well, this is from my perspective and from what I've observed over the 2+ decades of working with parents and youth. Parents' job is to create shifts in parenting techniques from childhood. This is huge. When I'm working with parents one-on-one in coaching, one of the first things we look at is, are you using the same parenting techniques when your child was 8, 9, and 10 than you are parenting a child who is 12, 13, and 14? So a shift in parenting techniques from childhood, in expectations as well. Parents' job, anytime a youth comes with something, not just like, can I have a sandwich, but with like a topic that is to be discussed, is to stop, drop, and listen. That's hard to do. To be quiet and curious when they bring something to you. To give them your attention, even when you're overworked, exhausted, irritated, hungry, ready to go to bed, and they show up and they go, hey, Dad or Mom, can I talk to you? Or they just start talking. Stop, drop, and listen. Be quiet and curious. And give out advice like gold pennies, precious, precious gold pennies. To shift your parenting from directing and advising and saying what you think should be and what they should do, and just assuming that that is what they're coming to you for, when most of the time they're asking me to tell you, can you just ask them to listen? I just want him to listen to me. That's it. Just listen. Particularly with most of the girls that I work with, this is a time when they tend to turn towards their dads or potential male parenting partners, because they tend to not know what to say, so they just listen. And they're like, God, it's great. He just sits there and he just listens. And he goes, wow. Wow, really? Oof. That's exactly what they want. Now, sometimes the mama parenting partner can come forward and go, well, wait, no, back here when you said this, here's some suggestions that I have. You know, what you could have said is this, and you could do that. And she's like, so stop, drop, listen, be curious. Tell me more. What's that? I'm curious. Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Would you like some suggestion? Would you like some advice? Gold penny advice. Gold penny advice. Specifically, maybe when it's not being asked for, not in that conversation. Like maybe the next day. Hey, that chat we had, you know, when you were asking me about what to do here. Are you interested? I had an idea. And be prepared to be shut down. That's okay. That's all right. We want to give them a little bit more leverage in the coming to you with things they want to talk about. When you bring things to them that they want, that you want to talk about, you get to direct that ship a little bit more. The adolescent needs you to back off and let her direct the ship in conversations a little bit more when he brings them to you. That's a hard thing for some parents to do. Another big thing to do for parents in their new job description is to stop talking about your kids to other parents, especially in front of them. This is huge. They're very aware of, and by the way, they're just assuming that you're talking about them anyway. So it's best if you can really work hard at like getting on the top of Mount Shasta with a friend if you need to have a conversation with something about her or him or them, so that they're not feeling talked about, because that is the quickest way that a youth will stop talking to you. They know that you're talking to someone else about them. Big trust buster on that one. Another one is to get educated on actually what's happening for your youth. This is huge. Understanding developmentally what's happening, brain growth versus hormones. There's a big hormonal myth out there. Yes, there's some hormones involved, but that's not a lot of what's going on. It's brain growth. Nina is going to post in Canvas some resources, books, podcasts, articles, to help you get educated so that you understand what is actually this process of becoming happening for your youth, no matter what they have and who they are, this time between 11 and 14. And then probably the biggest parenting advice I could give you in this moment is to take care of yourself. Your children can be a direct reflection on how you are. And I know this is difficult to hear because I know you are doing so much. I hear it, I see it, I'm watching everything that you're doing. But if your level of stress is up here, their level of stress is up here. If you are relaxed and calm, they can have permission to be relaxed and calm. So self-care during this time is probably the number one thing that I'm hearing from parenting sources around what to do to be a good parent when you're in COVID and a pandemic, is to take care of yourself, which is probably the last thing that we would think that we would need to do. So all of this, again, is during this time in 2021 when things are spiraling out of control. Our kids are in the process of becoming. And that is a difficult combination. And I'm not going to say that I have any quick answers for you around this, other than we've got to help our children believe that it is not always going to be this way, black and white. They think this is it from now on. So we have to hold hope for them. We have to hold happiness for them. We have to hold things for them, yes, while we're doing a full-time job, while we're feeding everybody, while we're walking the dog, while we're parenting other kids. This is a huge task. You think about a seesaw. This is your kid. Okay? Here's the seesaw. You are the rock. Seesaw goes this way. Rock stays like that. Very, very rare moment is that. So you being the rock, you don't know it, but they're watching you, they're listening to you. They would count your heartbeat if they could. They're telling you, you know, or they're deflated and they're sad and they're horrible. And they're connected to you in the deepest way possible right now. They're not showing it. They don't know how to do that yet. They're not developmentally set up to walk up to you and say, gosh, Dad, thank you for everything that you're doing. You're being such a rock star. Thank you for going to work every day, for putting the clothes on my back. Thank you for taking care of our family. Thank you for walking the dog. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for all that you're doing. The empathy bone in them has not yet developed because they are focused on themselves. They are self-driven. They are like ego bombs right now. And parents are tirelessly, and rightfully so, trying to help them see other things, other perspectives. Yes, we must do that. Yes, we must do that. We must get them out volunteering. We must get them to understand, you know, all those things, so important, yes. But to understand that their focus is on themselves developmentally right now, and then add a little bit of a pandemic and social starvation, and it can really fan the fuel of that egocentric world. So we are the rock. We're holding for them the hope for the future, the possibility of change, the belief that it's not always going to be this way, optimism of, yes, we are going to travel again. Yes, you are going to see your friends again. We don't know if that's going to happen, but we are going to assume that it is, and because we need to be that rock for our kids so that they can pivot in whatever ways it is that they need to, literally on top of us. Yes, do we need to put sticky notes on their snacks in the refrigerator as an 8th grader that says, eat this? Maybe. Yeah, maybe we do. Will we be doing that until they're 21? No. Nope, definitely won't. Will we need to remind them over and over and over again about doing things? Yes. Yes, we're going to be doing that a lot. Are we going to get thanked for it? Probably not a whole lot. No. But the payoff is when you zoom out and you look at what your relationship is going to be with your child when they are an adult. This time is going to be an important part of the building of that rock that is in that relationship that you're going to be having with them. And that sticky note on the lunch that you were frustrated with that you had to put on the refrigerator really did make a difference right now. Okay. 7:05. I think we got an hour, Nina. Do we have an hour for questions?
Yeah, and when you're ready, there's like 2 here.
Okay, I'm popping in.
Are you?
I'm there.
Okay. So Michael and Mariah, I feel like you're describing my 7-year-old child go through this early. Is it different at age 7?
This can happen between ages 5 and 7, and then it could bump up a little bit later into ages 13 and 14 if she's doing it now. She's going through a very similar developmental change at between 5 and 7 as she's going through in puberty in terms of brain growth. So yes, the answer is yes. Will she stay that way? Wow, not quite sure. But that dichotomy behavior I was talking about almost sounds a little toddlery. You know, again, the toddler has the black and the white. There's very little gray for the toddler. And so you know, the younger child absolutely can experience that. And will it continue? That's the question. I don't know. So what can I do when my child does not want to talk at all about their feelings and what is going on? It is so hard for them to do that because they don't know. Part of it can be when you're asking. I find that a lot of parents want to know what's going on for their kids when they're upset, right? That makes the most sense. What's going on? Why are you sad? What's happening? Why are you so mad? What's going on? And they're like, oh, you know, they're going through all of that. They are in a traumatic moment emotionally in that moment when they're feeling a lot at that time, and they can't answer you in that moment. It is a rare child that is able to say, I'm really upset because I'm feeling angry, and I'm angry because, I mean, they'll say things to satisfy you, but it's very difficult for them to actually identify how it is that they're feeling when they're in that moment. So I always suggest going back around afterwards and going to them and saying, you know, I noticed yesterday, 12, 24 hours is good. I noticed yesterday you were pretty upset about something, and I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that. It's hard for them to identify feelings unless they have been given emotional intelligent education from a very early age. To identify what happy feels like with the word, to identify what frustrating feels like with the word, is something that some kids find ease with and some kids find real discourse with. So it might be that there needs to be some emotional intelligence education about what feelings are when we are not feeling something. And I might have some suggestions of resources for that. So you might want to let me know, that parent, that you want those resources. And I can give them to you. This is an older child I'm seeing now. So there's another part of it that can be that she doesn't want to share it with you. And that she wants to have them herself. Yeah, maybe Ree, let's you and I talk about that a little more individually. Okay. My son is a total space cadet. He forgets his shoes until he's outside the mud. Some folks are telling me I need to let him fail when he forgets homework projects, etc. What is your advice on if it's appropriate to let kids fail at this age? Yes. Fail on, fail on, fail on. I'm a big fan of failing. Particularly in an environment where we have such beautifully success-driven, loving parents as we do at our dear Siskiyou school. I think failing within the parental boundaries is a really great opportunity. Just like a kid needs to fall out of a tree to understand how far the branch is from in the air to the ground, I think they need to understand failure. A lot of parents don't want their kids to fail because it's they're worried that that's the way they'll be for the rest of their life. They don't like watching their kids fail. It's too painful for them. It's a parent suffering thing. I get that. It's really hard. I think we can let them fail without them feeling punished. I think it's really valuable for them to experience cause and effect and what that mud feels like in between his toes. I mean, there's a risk there. He might really like it and decide that he doesn't want to wear shoes, and that could be a problem. So there is some risk in failure. It's like, I don't care what my grades are. Okay, we need to talk about that. You know, it's not like we pull the cork on everything, but I think the occasional, yeah, I mean, and sometimes maybe more occasional, let them fail. I'm a big fan of it. Okay, I agree. Let's go back now, since the questions have been answered that are up there right now, and I want to talk a little bit about anxiety and depression for a second, okay? I have I have a lot of parents right now who are diagnosing their kids with anxiety and depression. And I think it's really important for parents to understand what is healthy anxiety, what is unhealthy anxiety, what is healthy stress, what is unhealthy stress, what does depression look like. It's easy to go online and Google, you know, signs of depression in my youth or my teen or whatever that is. And the hard thing is that some of what you'll see when you do that are just basically what kids are feeling right now because of the pandemic. Isolated, lack of energy, you know, I mean, it's a very difficult thing for us to be able to, as parents, to look at our child and to be able to determine really where their mental health is. So I really encourage you to seek out medical support with trained professionals before you use those words with your children. I have so many kids coming to me saying, well, I'm depressed. And I'm saying, so are you depressed or are you feeling sad? You know, do you know what that is? And so I think it would really be beneficial for us as the adults to really understand what it is that we're saying before we bring it to our kiddos. Now, when a child has been clinically diagnosed with anxiety and depression, absolutely there needs to be treatment, there needs to be additional support. There's a whole different track that we move on to. It's very difficult right now for us to understand the youth that are before us in where we are a year into a pandemic as to what they are actually experiencing unless we can get another professional involved to take a real serious look. So if you have serious concerns about anxiety and depression in your youth, it's important that you get to someone so that they can take a look at your child and help to determine if what we are seeing is truly anxiety and depression or if there's something else that could possibly be going on. They're out of energy. They're tired of Zoom. They're upset that they can't have their normal lifestyle. They're disheveled in the biggest way that they possibly can be. And this is a time where we need to adjust our expectations of everything. However, at the same time, holding boundaries, holding expectations, but making adjustments. And that's a challenge as a parent with multiple kids, jobs, that kind of a thing. But it's literally waking up every morning and going, what is today? And what is it that I can do differently that could potentially make a shift in what's going on for my kid? Are we going to miss first period and go for a walk? How can we change up routine today in a way that makes it a little bit different? How can I encourage them to finish a project that they're not wanting to finish? Maybe I need to reach out and talk to somebody else about getting some suggestions. We can't do all of this on our own. We've got to lean into each other and try to get some suggestions on how we can support each other in motivating our kids. We've got 5 weeks until spring break. Perspective, okay? 5 weeks. So what is it that we need to do between now and spring break to help support our kids' mental health? Teachers, la, 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 la. Teachers, don't listen, don't listen. Do we need to take them somewhere? Do we need to change things for a few minutes? Do we need to take a hit on a grade so that we can go to the coast? Or do we need to like not go to school for a day and rearrange everybody's bedrooms and change bedrooms? Do we, you know, it's like, how do we think out of the box so that we can like take the sheets in the bed and go like this a little bit between now and spring break? So setting, those blocks of time, and then we've got from spring break until the end of school, and then we have summer, it's like, it's easy for us to go, look at everything, and the whole future comes tumbling down on us. So take it in little increments if you can. Please be careful around using the words depression and anxiety in front of your kids. If you need some suggestions around therapists and things, you can reach out to me. I got to tell you, they're really busy. So you can imagine, yes, this is having a big impact on the mental health of our kids. I will tell you that that is true. And do we know what the impact is? No, we don't. We have no clue. But I do know that we can put them in the car and take them to the ocean, and they can stick their toes in the sand if they need to and regroup for a minute and then come back to it. That's the best that we can do right now on a daily basis. That's what we need to do. Okay? Okay. Back to questions. With the pandemic, I'm noticing there isn't much risk taking with my kid at home when I feel like there should be risks and consequences, but life is so sheltered. Oh, right. Yeah. Whew, that's where sometimes we have to watch the online life, which could be a whole other conversation. There's a lot of risk taking that can take place there. So watch that very carefully. This window of time of risk is big. It's big. It's years. So that opportunity will come. Can we push them to do things differently? Things they haven't tried. It's like, okay, everybody, we're going to go do this and choose something, not risky, but different that could be risky. As a family, yes, you could probably do that. But unfortunately, life is sheltered right now, and we're just hoping that it won't be as much going forward. And there's plenty of years in adolescence to come for that risk-taking advantage to play out. Discipline style for this age. Okay, middle school. So again, discipline should be different now than it was when they were a child. So the same kinds of discipline that you were doing when they were little should look different now. And how does that look? Well, it's different per child. Different children need different boundaries. I'm a firm believer in boundaries. What the boundaries look like depends on the child. What the boundaries or the discipline looks like depends on what the parent wants to manage and what the parent wants to allow. It's important that there is the word allow now, and that the parent is consciously allowing. Okay, so you don't have to keep your room clean like you used to, but once a week we have to get in there and we have to go through it and pick up the sandwiches and the laundry and that kind of thing. So what kinds of things do you want to manage, and what kinds of things do you want to allow? And then you can bring that to your youth if you think that they are capable of hearing this part of the conversation, saying, so I'm going to make some changes in some of the boundaries that we have, and this is what I'm thinking, and I'm interested in your input, and I'll get back to you with what I'm decided. You can include them in the process. And probably one of the biggest things that youth say to me around boundaries is parents are really good about setting them, but they're not good at holding them. And so be sure that whatever boundary it is that you put forth is one that you are willing to hold. And if you are not willing to hold that boundary anymore, don't just let the air fizzle out of it. Go to your youth and explain why it is that that boundary is no longer in place. Oh, sleep needs for this age. This is a tough one because of the pandemic right now. I really have to say it's very difficult. The tendency for youth to want to sleep developmentally right now is huge. Is excessive sleeping potentially a sign of depression? Possibly yes, if there are other ones. But they want to sleep. Some people, I can't say it blanket wise, honestly, but a majority of youth, as they're particularly at the later part of middle school, want to sleep more. And one of the reasons why they want to sleep so much is because that's when their brain grows. Their brain can't grow when they're moving around and doing things. It happens when they're asleep. So they're wired to sleep. Their sleep rhythms are changing, which is something else in the discipline side and in the expectation side and the parenting side that you need to look at, is that developmentally their sleep rhythms are changing. 9 to 10 hours of sleep would be great if that's possible. On the weekends, let them sleep as much as they want. The natural rhythm for like an older teenager, their sleep preference would be to go to sleep at midnight and sleep until 12 o'clock. That is their natural rhythm. If they were out in the woods running around, sleeping under bushes with clubs and cave lions and things like that, they would go stay up until midnight because it's not safe to, they're out there trying to find their tribe, right? They've left the parental boundaries at this point. And so they're sleeping under a branch at 12 o'clock and sleep until 12 in the day. That's not the way our society works. What do you recommend? These are great questions, you guys. What do you recommend for kids who lean towards perfectionism and are overly hard on themselves? First of all, I want you to look at yourself. And I want you to understand who you are genetically that way, who you are potentially environmentally that way. Where could the perfectionism come from? And are you having anything to do with it? Is the first place that I look. Always the first place I look is you guys. It's me too. It's that same thing as a parent. When I'm doing something, when my kids are showing me something, I'm like, okay, what's going on with me? So yes, perfectionism is a huge thing, particularly in 8th grade. And around 8th grade, most 8th grade girls go through this major phase of perfectionism, and it's a competition thing, and it can get very intense. And it's dangerous. It can be dangerous, actually. And it's something that needs to be worked on, particularly with that population. I would want to really take a look at grade motivation. I think grades are important, but I think that our society puts way too much emphasis on performance and academics and grades. Teachers, la, la, la. I think there's more to life than grades. And so modeling that for your kids, A's are awesome. B's are beautiful. Actually, C's are cool. D's are a little dumb, and F's are. So, it's like you get to decide how you are with that, but look at how much emphasis maybe you're putting on their work. Some kids come in with a capital P on them. They are perfectionists. And that is something that is a lifelong challenge to be worked with, for sure. Notice that when he brings something to you, what your response is, or shows you something. What is your reaction? How are you being with that perfectionism? Is a good place to start. Staying up late and getting up early for school. That's your future. That's what they want to do. They want to stay up late and they don't want to get up early for school. They want to get up 5 minutes before they're supposed to jump on a Zoom call or they're supposed to walk out the door. Yup, that's what they want to do. And you're chasing after them with a sausage or a green smoothie, trying to get it in them as they're flying on to whatever it is. My recommendation is that you calm yourself and know that this is a temporary way of being, and that they are going to do that. And oof, in most cases, no matter what you do or say, they're still going to do it. Sorry. And that if you feel, if that's really something that you want to manage, is that something you want to manage? You can't manage all of it anymore. You can. If you do that, you'll probably lose a relationship with your kid and you'll have a nervous breakdown. So it's really like sitting down and what do I want to manage? What do I want to allow? If you have parenting partners, the two of you should sit down and do this together so that you're on the same page. Because when one parent wants to manage this and another one wants to allow this, woo, crazy making stuff. So if you want to manage this staying up late and then having to get up early for school, then go for it. But then you're going to have to think about some other stuff you want to let go of. Because that is really what they love to do. They just love it. There's some risk right there. Ooh, can I do that? Can I get out of bed as late as I possibly can and show up at school? Okay, they're finding it in any place that they can. Oh yes. How should we address challenging topics such as alcohol and sex when they come up in shows and media that is consistently becoming more and more oriented on these topics? Stop the show, talk about it, feels awkward. I know they feel awkward about it too. Take into consideration that the child does have girls group that can talk about this kind of stuff. I love awkward. I'm trying to teach your kids how to be awkward. Awkward is so good. When there's awkward means something's important. Something's important. We don't know what it is, but awkward says stop for a minute and go, oh, there's something here. What could it be? When we feel awkward, we tend to want to walk away from it. We don't want to be a part of it because it's uncomfortable. We don't know what to do with it. We feel like we should be prepared, especially when it comes to sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But it is so much more important for you to fumble your way through the awkward moment and take some humor with it and go, I think we should talk about this. Don't you think we should talk about this? I mean, what's going on here? What are you seeing? You know, and just kind of bring it to a level of, you know, not lecture. Okay, it's like, don't turn off the show and go, or turn down the volume and go, okay, so, you know, because like they're gone when that happens. So dive into the awkward, dive into it and go, okay, this is weird, but I'm going to bring this up. Sorry, I know it's awkward, and you know, name it. Say, I don't know what I'm doing, but this feels weird to me. My gut tells me, so, what do you think about this? I mean, really? And then be curious with them in that moment, and then let it go. And be quiet. Don't go too far. That's something that we as parents do. Is, you know, there's this little moment that happens, this ripe, awkward moment. And rather just going in and splashing around in the puddle for a minute, it's like, we open up the barn door and all the waves come in. We got to talk about everything and whatever. And she's just going, oh my God, no. So little tiny moments when you can get into that awkward place for a second for each other and then jump back out again. And do that whenever you can so that it's natural.
Karen, can I jump on that bandwagon really quick?
Yes.
When I was teaching, I think it was 7th grade, and we do this physiology block on sexuality, and, you know, we teach the anatomy and do the whole thing. I could see, you know, the kids are like, oh no, is this really going to happen? Are we really going to talk about this? So the first day I just did this thing. I said, I want you to write on the index cards every word you're so terrified that I'm going to say. And they just put them all out, all these words. And I just sat there, I just read them all, and they cried and they laughed, and then we could move forward.
That's my job. That's what I do. That's absolutely what I do. Push through the awkward. It's the way to go. Thank you, Nina. We want them talking. We want you dialoguing with them, even if it's like that. I want you to show up for them as raw and as stupid and unprepared as you possibly are, with humor, and say, I love you, and I'm going in. I'm going to give this a try, and, you know, make it funny. Don't try to be all serious. They hate it when you try to get all serious. Be careful about being too youth cool. That was a term I got day before yesterday from a group of 6th graders. When giving suggestions to parents about having conversations about awkward things, literally, I was saying, I'm going to send an email to your parents tonight about how to be a little bit more, you know, less awkward about talking about things. And one of these youth brought up, don't try to be youth chill. Don't try to be, I mean, youth cool, you know. So find your way in between not being youth cool and not lecturing. So somewhere in between there, you're golden. Just stumble and do your best. Just keep talking to them. That's the most important thing. My child can be socially awkward and push friends away. Any suggestions? She's got to figure that out herself. That's a tough one. That's another one of those things where it's really hard to watch. But she has to figure it out herself. You can't go in and help her or point things out to her. If she's feeling frustrated and confused and comes to you, being curious with her about it and being present with her with it is the most important thing. She has to figure it out herself. Her peers will teach her. It may not be the peers right now, you know, it might be next year or something. Particularly for most 8th, 7th, and 8th grade girls, even 6th, there's huge social things happening in middle school for that population in particular. There's loss of friendship. There's risk of loss of friendship. There's shift in friendships. There's triads falling apart. There's pandemic. There's, you know, there's a lot of foundational shifts to friendships in middle school for most girls. That is to be expected, honestly. That's the developmentally normal. I know a lot of solo sailor girls in particular in 7th and 8th grade. They haven't found their buddy, and their parents are freaked out that they don't have a really good friend. Wait until high school. Something will show, most likely. What about food and eating? I thought that said Cheerios, Kevin, but no, it said chores. What about food and eating? Focus on it. Is that what we're asking here? Okay. How to talk about healthy eating without telling a child they're eating too much. Okay, we're middle school here. They're hungry. Their digestion is going through big change right now. Brain, digestion, social life, mental development, physical development. You show me a part of this child's not being touched and I'll be amazed with change. So one minute they're starving and they will eat everything in the refrigerator, and then they won't eat for 3 days. And we're like, you know, we've got eating disorder messages in our heads. We've got obesity in our minds. We've got, you know, all of these societal messages that are freaking us out, and we're wanting to chase after our kids and either feed them or stop them from eating. Healthy eating, my feeling is what parent provides in the refrigerator, a kid could eat all they wanted of. If you're going to buy cookies and chips and all those fun things, which I'm a big fan of, I think we got to have those things, because if we don't do that, then they go off on their own and that's all they eat. But do we replenish the supply constantly, or do we just have this set amount and this is what we have for the week, and once it's gone, it's gone? So if you sit down and eat a whole box of cookies, it's gone. It's gone until I go shopping next week, or until the next time it's time to get cookies. So what we provide for them, they should be able to eat as much of as they want, and they will do that. They will eat a lot and then they will stop, and then they will eat a lot and then they will stop. They'll go through periods of time where, and it can be a week sometimes, where they're not hungry. Now, do we stop offering them food and not emphasize or offer, say, are you hungry? Would you like something? No, of course, we still do that. But what can happen is parents freak out and they get worried, and then they get pushy around the food, and then they get manipulatively around the food, and they want to talk about it and they want to educate about it. And suddenly the kid's going, what's with the food? What's so important here? There's something wrong? There's something wrong with me? So again, this is one of these things that we get really well educated on if we need to, which is eating disorders. I just had a youth come to me yesterday and say, my mom says I have an eating disorder. I said, you do? Really? Tell me about that. Doesn't have an eating disorder. So lots of healthy food, a little bit of junk, and let them, if that's something that you feel like you want to manage, then you're gonna have to let go of some other things. But if that's something you feel like you can allow, then consider that. See if their appetite regulates. Now, if we have, again, if there are issues that need to be looked at through the medical community in terms of sudden weight gain or sudden weight loss, let's be aware of that for sure. Chores. Cool. Chores in the middle schooler. We could write a novel about that, and it would not be one anybody would want to read, guaranteed. They're so done with chores. I don't know one middle schooler that is like, sign me up, unless like they're getting Bokudel's money, or there's where he's like, right, yeah. So again, chores. Let's talk about it. Chores say childhood to me. The word is loaded. There's no joy in the word chores. So find another word in another language. Come up with another way to disguise it. Do something to change it in some way. Change the chores. Change the way the chores are set up. Do you get to pick? Are you cleaning the toilet like every week? I mean, okay, so there's a rotation. Maybe we're done cleaning the toilet for a while. Maybe there's something else that needs. What are some chores you would like to do? Oops, not chores. What are some things you'd like to do to contribute around the house here? Maybe dusting. Who would have thought that? I do dusting, once a week for a month. I'm done doing it. Give me something else to do. So changing things up, really important. And at this age, incorporating them in the process of what they're doing to contribute into the household. And do you pay them? You betcha. Yup. Give them money. Whatever motivates them. I think it's okay, honestly. I mean, some people have an issue with that and say that, we need to all work together to make the family thing. And it's like, nobody pays me to do it. They're like, okay, if that's what you believe, I totally respect that. Totally respect it. You want to get the house clean? Pay them. That's really, or do something else. Or, I know parents who have eliminated chores because it was the battle of a century, was getting their kids to do chores. And finally these parents were like, you know what? I'm done. We're just going to do them. And while we're doing the chores, the kids are doing something else. And you know what? It's great. It's wonderful. And they're going to know eventually how to clean their own house. Great. Our family's so much happier now. So, take a bigger perspective on whether chores are something that you want to have in your middle schooler's life or not. What about paying them to watch younger child siblings? Sure. Why not? I mean, it's really your family value system. I mean, it's like, some parents would hear me say that and go, no, no. So for that family, paying them to watch a younger child or sibling is not an option. For you, if you're considering it, and if it would motivate them a little bit more, Yeah, absolutely. Value their time. I value your time. I'm going to pay you to spend some time with your younger brother. Thank you, Dad. I appreciate that. That could be a way of doing it. Okay, again, it's up to your value systems here. I really want to respect those. With all of my humor, I know that that's not something people would want. Yeah, totally, thanks. Okay, we've got 15 more minutes. Nina, we could have people stay on if they want, or we could potentially sign out. But I'm definitely willing to stay here and chat. What would you like to do?
Yes, so we do have 15 more minutes. I also respect that people may have things to go to. So if you would like to stay on, and we'll do more of a just pop on and use your voice kind of a situation, feel free to stay. Otherwise, get some extra sleep.
Yes, extra sleep. Hold that, be that rock for your kids, my friends. Please. They need you now more than ever. They're not going to show it, but they need you. Thanks for coming.